One of the hardest things in the world to actually deal with or maintain is the discipline of our everyday lives, our routines, when life gets in the way. And you know what I mean when I say life gets in the way. Life gets in the way because somebody drops by at the wrong time, or you're on the road traveling excessively, or whatever it may be, something pops up that changes what you thought the plan was going to be. So personally, I've spent maybe 3 to 4 weeks on the road, 3 days of the week, over and over again for a couple of different weeks. Now, I have friends that live on the road all the time. I don't. I have a family, I have a routine, I have a very distinctive, disciplined morning routine, all the things I love that actually allow me to perform at a high level, that get a lot of things done. I get a lot done in the day when I stick to my disciplined schedule and routine. But life does get in the way. And the last couple of weeks have been extremely challenging, and it made me think about what are some of the things I do to both cope with it and build out of it the discipline I need, and also acknowledge some of the things I don't do as well. I can tell you, so I went from Charlotte to DC to Chicago, and I've been in some really great places, and I ate some really good dinners, and I had some really great days. And the key is all of them were different. All the beds were different. All the hotel workout rooms and fitness rooms were different. And that's not how I function. I normally function where I wake up and I do the same thing every day. I have a morning routine. The first hour to 2 hours of my day every day is the same. So when I go on these trips, I say, okay, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna wake up, I'm gonna do my meditation and my scripture, and then I'm gonna do the workout, and I'm gonna have this perfect plan. And guess what? For 2 or 3 of the 4, it worked. And I just got back from Chicago and it didn't work. Dinners were later, time zone was different, schedule was thrown off a little bit more. I had added meetings in between. I was not able to fit it all in. And you know what? You actually lay your head down on the pillow after having had an extremely productive day and you feel like you didn't get anything accomplished. You didn't actually do what you set out to do. When the truth is, I just didn't set out to do a couple things that I really felt were important. My daily discipline. This is my daily discipline, right? But life constantly gets in the way. So what do? Well, I found myself evaluating what did I do differently the 3 weeks prior that I succeeded at it, and I worked out and I did all the things I wanted to get done, and I didn't do this last time. Now, I will tell you, being in a city that I don't go to often is one of the things that's a challenge because I really want to see more things. I want to spend more time walking. I want to actually feel the place that I'm in for a moment, because too many times when you're traveling and you're working and you're getting it all in, you actually don't have time to actually notice anything around you where you're at. So being present is one of the most important things. But I looked back at those 3 weeks and I said, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? And here's what we came up with. Number 1 is self-awareness and a self-control. It really an accountability of self, if you will. Self-awareness is extremely important. I wear a Whoop. This is my accountability partner. Now, why is this important? I also wear the Apple Watch, which I think is amazing too, but they do different things. The Whoop tells me specifically where I'm at in my recovery. And for simple terms, red, yellow, or green. When I wake up in the red, it means that I have not recovered properly, that my respiratory rates might be elevated, that my heart rate variability is low, that I'm stressed. Let's just use a word everybody understands and knows that doesn't wear a Whoop. I'm stressed. And if I wake up and I'm in the red, it's actually my body telling me I shouldn't go keep to my routine. Having the self-awareness of understanding that there are indicators that go off for you as an individual. It may be your Apple Watch, your Fitbit, your wearable technology. Maybe it's actually just the way you feel. What's interesting is I find sometimes the way I feel in my brain and what this tells me are opposite. And then I have to come up with who's right, who's wrong, how am I going to execute upon it? This is where I get to self-accountability. The accountability is I have to maintain a certain level of days where I'm growing, where I'm moving into the green, where I'm feeling like I'm in a better spot. And I use that as a mechanism to keep myself on a schedule of control. Maybe when we go out to the conference, to the networking event that night, I don't have anything to drink. No alcohol, no anything. Maybe I eat a smaller meal, a very light meal, because I know I need to recover quicker. I do little tiny things that help me succeed. And I wake up the next day and I'm affirmed that it worked. That is a really, really good thing. When I pay attention to that, I tend to succeed. So I did that right on this last trip and all the 3 before. That was actually one good thing. I was very in tune and self-aware enough to hold myself accountable. But that's the first most important thing, is that self-awareness and accountability to yourself. The second thing is to build failure into your plan. All right, you've got to build failure into your plan, because part of maybe the best part of being in a different place, and this isn't just about traveling, this is about, this morning my nephew visited at 8 a.m. and we babysat him, and it was awesome. It changed my whole day. I did not get the normal morning routine in, but I sacrificed it for the benefit of something I actually love more than my morning routine: human interaction with people I love. Okay, Scott can get to his morning routine later. And that's what I told myself, and that's what we'll do. But the reality is that stuff happens all the time. You have to build failure into the plan, no matter whether it's a daily activity or it's a travel schedule or a stepping outside of your comfort zone. For me, because I'm using the example of traveling, this is good for you to understand. I build failure into the days. And what I mean by that is, if I don't succeed and I do lay my head down on the pillow and I didn't get the workout in and I didn't have the nutrition or the diet I expected, maybe I didn't get to finish all the tasks I had on my schedule, I have to acknowledge that that's part of it. So I forgive myself immediately. Failure with forgiveness is mandatory. Failure without forgiveness is a problem. See, when I fail and I learn from it and I grow from it, it's just a tax that I'm paying to get better. That's how I look at failure, and daily that happens. So the reality is, when I'm thrown off and I'm struggling the most, it's usually when I'm actually not allowing failure to be a part of my plan, and most importantly, I'm not forgiving myself when it is. See, forgiving ourselves when failure is a part of the plan is empowering. It doesn't take away your power, it empowers you, because it gives you exactly what you need for the next step, which is a hard reset. Hard resets are crucial. I love the example of the iPhone, because sometimes, believe it or not, I have that thing doing way too many things. My calendar's up, I'm on social media, I got a post I'm getting ready to post with a picture pending, and all these things, and the phone starts to go slow. And then it doesn't even work for something as simple as sending a text message, or it's delayed and glitchy. What do? You know the phone can work. You know it's not broke. You know it's not broke down. You know there's not a major problem. What does it need? It needs a hard reset. Quickly turn it off, turn it back on, and reassess. 9 times out of 10, everything goes back to working again. How does that affect us when we want to be successful, whether we're on the road or our disciplined schedule is just thrown off by life? Well, it means that sometimes those hard resets need to be quick. They need to be in the moment. Sometimes you need a hard reset to separate from the moment and come right back into it. By acknowledging all the things we talked about in the beginning, we're really able to succeed at a high level. The hard reset is actually the crucial part to gaining the other parts of the steps. See, the reset allows us to acknowledge and serve as accountability partner to our Whoop. So if I'm wearing the Whoop and it tells me I'm struggling, sometimes it's just telling me I need a hard reset. I need to take a break. Sometimes in a moment, you're overwhelmed too much and it just starts to build up. You need to step away and reset. And I just really believe that when I look back at how I succeeded on the first legs of the long-term trips versus the end where I felt like I was a little bit out of control, I think that it really came down to my inability to forgive myself for the failures, to make sure I was taking moments of hard resets, and sometimes it's just a little bit more than you're used to. You know, sleeping in a different bed in a different place on a regular basis when that's not the norm is definitely taking someone out of their comfort zone. And while I'm grateful for the spaces and the dinners and all the things that I just got to experience, even the conversations I was able to have with all the high performers I surrounded myself with, I still found myself feeling like I should have or could have done more in certain days. When I went through these steps and I forgave myself for the daily failure, I found myself recharged and re-energized moving into the next day. And what I love most about these types of things is that when I assess things like this, I can now take this recipe and remember it. I remember it when I go to the next place. I remember it when I go and I set myself up for success ahead of time. Life is always going to get in the way of the things that we think we want. But just like having the friendly visitor I talked about earlier this morning, I'm glad when life gets in the way most of the time. I actually appreciate it. As long as I'm prepared for it, I know how to deal with it. And that becomes a discipline in itself. The discipline of realizing life is going to get in the way, and how we deal with it and how we maintain that discipline moving forward is really the secret to a high level of performance, to a high level of success, to something that every one of us struggles with from time to time. What I just explained to you today was something that I really had to reassess just in the last week. I can tell you there are many times where I go through these exercises and it only helps me grow, helps me really create the recipe that I'm utilizing so I can relive it and reuse it all over again. And I think every one of you has that same thing in you. It's identifying what is disrupting our lives. How can we actually tap into that to find success inside of that challenge? That challenge becomes an opportunity and we succeed through it, with it, in spite of it. It's really, really valuable. So first of all, thanks for watching. Don't forget to share, like. Other people that might need to see this, don't be afraid to send it to them. And if you like content like this, watch this next video on how to be more productive.